fifth graders, welcome back to another The Math Show with Miss Condry. Well, you have another math packet, and we're going to work through the second part of it. It's Unit 5, Module 4, and we're going to do the pages that look like this: sharing and grouping, multiplication and division, and then the back side of it has some example problems using fraction division. We were actually working on these things just before we left for the stay-at-home orders. And I'm just going to remind you really quick to be sure to follow our classroom norms. Learning from home, working from home, all of these things are really hard. It's hard to be at home right now. And so I want to just remind you to have a positive attitude and to be kind and patient with those that are helping you. And also to remember that this is just temporary. We will be back together at some point in a school setting. All right, so today we are working on understanding the two types of division, sharing and grouping. This is really important because with whole numbers, this doesn't really matter, although you've been exposed to both of those types of division in third and fourth grade. But with whole numbers, you don't have to think about it so much. When we get into dividing with fractions, though, these story contexts really matter. So again, we're working on Unit 5, Module 4, and you can find these problems on page 105 and 106. All right. So in order to be successful in these pages, we really have to take a peek at what is sharing division. So I'm just going to get set up here. And we're going to talk about sharing division first, and we're going to work through a couple examples, and then hopefully that will help you with the 2 pages that you have. Okay, so we're going to talk about a whole number scenario first, because going back to things that are simpler sometimes help us understand things that are harder. So we're going to do a simpler problem, and then we're going to work on one that uses fraction division. Okay, so the first context I have is a sharing problem, and I want you to really pay attention to what makes this a sharing problem. So I have 12 carrots, and I have 3 horses. How many carrots does each horse get? Okay, so an expression to represent this problem would be 12, because I'm starting with a total of 12, and so that's our dividend. The first number in the problem is what we're dividing up. Okay, so 12, and we're going to share it among 3 horses, and then we're going to get an answer. And then I'm going to model this problem, and the modeling is really where you can see that it's sharing. So in this case, I know already with my picture that I have 3 groups, and those groups are horses. So 3 horses, here they are. I know they're circles, not horses, but you get the idea. And then I need to figure out how to divide these carrots among these 3 horses so they all get the same amount. So if I was in third grade, I'd probably do something like this, just one by one, and I'd draw these little carrots until I used up all 12 carrots. And then I can see that I actually have 4 carrots for each horse. So my answer is 4. The answer, I'm going to make it like a flower so it doesn't look like a group. Okay, the answer is how big each of the groups was. So how many carrots each horse got. Okay, and I want you to really hold that in your mind. Now we're going to see how sharing applies to a problem using fractions. So this scenario says I have 1/3 of a cake. There are 4 people in my family. How much cake will each person get? So in this case, again, I know how many groups there are. There are 1/3 of a group. I'm going to make a big sheet cake. And I'm going to show 1/3 of a cake. This is how much cake I have. And then I said that there were 4 or so sorry, that's not the, this is how big my total is. So 1/3. So that's my dividend, 1/3. And I'm sharing it with 4 people in my family. Okay, so I'm going to use this because now I need to make sure that each person in my family gets the same size piece. Okay, so I just cut that third, if you can see it, into 4 equal parts. So I might get this part, my dad might get that part, my mom would get this part, and my sister would get this part. Okay? And now it says how much cake did each person get. So in order to answer that, I need to actually extend these lines all the way over because this is the cake. So I can see that I got 1 piece out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12. So each person gets 1/12 of the whole cake. Okay. Now, that's for sharing. When we have a fraction that's divided up by a whole number, that is a sharing. We need to use a sharing situation. It would be really hard to make this into a grouping situation, as you'll see later. So now let's take a look at some contexts that explain grouping. If this is confusing to you, you can always stop and practice some of the problems and check your answers with the answer key to see if you're understanding what you're doing. The biggest point that I can emphasize is to model your problems exactly what the story is saying. So your pictures should match exactly, and that's going to help you decide what it is you're actually doing. Okay, so here is grouping division. This is a little bit different, as you'll see. I have 12 carrots. That sounds the same. If I give 3 carrots to each horse, that's different. How many horses get carrots? So here I could give 3 carrots to 1 horse, and now I know I've given 1 horse carrots, but I still have, I have to get rid of 12 carrots. So I can give 3 carrots to another horse, and now I've given them to 2 horses. That's only 6 carrots though, so I need to keep giving more carrots until I run out. Now 3 horses have carrots. And now 4 horses have carrots, and altogether I've used 12 carrots and 4 horses get carrots. So the expression is 12 divided by 3. Same as in the last problem with the sharing, but the way I modeled it looks different, and the answer is in how many groups, not how much in each group. Okay, so my answer is equal to 4. Ugh, keep drawing circles around it and then it looks like another horse. Okay, next one. Again, this one is where it's going to really count because now you're going to see that we're dealing with fraction division. So in this case, I have 4 cakes. Okay, so again, we're talking about cakes, just like in the sharing problem. 4 cakes, and that's the total thing that I have, the total amount. So that's going to be my dividend. If I give 1/3 of a cake to each friend, how many friends are going to get cake? So we're looking for the number of friends that will get cake. So here I'm starting with 4 cakes. That's the total amount that I have. And I'm going to share it by giving 1/3 to each person. And then I'm going to try and figure out how many 1/3s are in 4. So here, I'll start by drawing 4 cakes. We'll call them small cakes because to give 1/3 of a cake away is a lot of cake. Okay, and I'm going to give 1/3 of a cake to each friend. So I can cut each of these cakes into 3 equal parts so that I can give 1/3 of them to each friend. So one friend gets that one, another friend, and another friend. So far, 6 friends have gotten 1/3 of a cake. Okay, so if I'm looking here, now I know that my answer is 12 because 12 friends will get 1/3 of a cake. All right, I hope that's really helpful to you as you work through the problems. A couple things to know. On the second part of the very last page, it's kind of a choose your own adventure. And you can see that there are, in the scenario, you get to circle the fractional part that you want to do. Just so you know, in 5th grade, the standard is that you are only dividing with unit fractions. That means that you only need to know how to do this when a fraction has the 1 in the numerator. So if you see 3/4 or 2/3 and you circle those, just know that those are 6th grade level problems, not 5th grade. So if you want to stick to 5th grade, you would circle either 1/2 or 1/3. In all of these problems, just choose the unit fraction. And make sure that you model the problem exactly as it's written. The other thing is an expression does not have an equal sign. So if you write 12 divided by 4 equals 3, that's an equation. An expression is just 12 divided by 4, okay? And you're using the problems or the numbers in this equation or in this story problem. All right, that was a lot of information, and we're going to go over that next week in Teams as well and just check over our work and make sure we all understand how to divide with fractions and how to use sharing and grouping problems. All right, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.